Hello there everyone, today we're gonna tie this. This is a jig-shanked woolly bugger. And it's made on these pretty cool, pretty awesome shanks from spawn fly fish. And this is an articulated fly. So basically, it has two parts. It has a shank and then it has a hook. And because of this, because of the angle of the shank here, when this sits on the bottom, if you're fishing in shallow water or you're fishing deep, then it will rest like this, and then the hook will be up here, so you won't get as many snags. And also the articulation here makes this really vibrant and lively, and makes the tail kick a lot out there. So a very cool way of tying a pretty nice streamer. The articulation here is really cool. So stay tuned and watch the video on how to do this. Hello, as I said, here is the fly, and now we're gonna tie this. It's an articulated fly, and that means we first tie on a hook, and then we add the hook to a shank, so it's a fly that's tied in two different sections. The first thing we need is of course the hook here, and basically I just make a small woolly bugger on this hook. Take my thread here, and this is a Vivus GSP thread, all the way down to the hook bend. This is the hook is a Chemco 783, and it's a really cool hook for something like this, because it's very strong, very durable. So this can definitely withstand both really big trout and salmon and rough water and stuff like that. And also it has a very wide gape and a really nice tip. So this Chemco hook is a really cool hook, and I found myself using this more and more for all sorts of flies, and it's even a good hook for a single hook for tube flies. Okay, enough about all that. Now what we need is we need a tail for this thing here, and the thing I'm gonna need is I'm gonna need a marabou plume. This one actually looked quite good. So I'm gonna take this, and then I'm gonna take these two fingers here, I'm gonna make them into kind of a clamp. Then I'm gonna clamp on the marabou with the two fingers, so that I have one of the sides of the marabou, and then I'm gonna cut all along the marabou feather stem here. As you can see, now I've cut off the entire bottom part of the feather here, and I have all the feathers in between my fingers, and then I can just easily add these together to give me a nice tail. A nice voluminous tail. There we go. And I think the tail size here is fairly fine. I'm gonna cut off this leftover marabou so it kind of aligns with the eye, so I'll get an even thick body almost all the way up to the eye. There we go. Then we're gonna take a hackle, and for this part here in the back part of the fly, I'm gonna take a fairly small hackle. This is a black rooster hackle, because I want this fly to taper, and I want this tail part of the fly to be smaller and thinner than the rest. Basically tie this down. And there we go, and like so. And then I need some dubbing, and for this I'm gonna use some really cool looking Spawn UV collection. This is fluorescent orange, or UV orange and black, and then I'm gonna use some ripple ice fiber in pearl red hue. I'm gonna mix these two, and the way I do this is mixed already, is simply just to pull it apart. I'm gonna mix them I'm gonna show you. I take a bundle of the spawn dubbing here, the orange and the black, and then I take a smaller amount of this ripple ice dubbing, and then I'm gonna mix these two together by pulling them apart, turning it over, pulling them apart, turning it over, and so on and so forth, about enough times until you think that your dubbing now has been decently mixed. For this first section, I'm not going to do a dubbing loop, but I'm going to do that for the second section. So basically, I'm just going to take some of the dubbing here and just mash it on there. Like this. Perfect. And then we're ready to go. It was a bit too much dubbing, but that's okay. I'm gonna turn the hackle. I see now that I actually forgotten some flesh in the tail. It's not that important, but if you want, you can add a few strands of crystal flesh or ascent flesh or mirror flesh, whatever you have around to the tail. Just about 4 or 5 strands. It's not gonna be that crucial, but I have it on the other ones, and I like it. But you know, I'm not gonna redo it now. It's an option. You choose if you want to do it. This way it makes it a bit more stealthy. There's a few of the strands here that is a bit long, so I'm not going to cut them with the scissor, but basically just rip them off with my fingers. And basically now the only thing left is to add the rubber legs. And these are barred round rubber legs in orange. And they look nice on any fly. And then I take one of these and cut it into half like so. So now I have my rubber leg, and I'm gonna add it to the thread and then hold it between my thumb and index finger, and this way I can manipulate it exactly in place where I want it. I want mine there. A bit longer, and if I want it longer, I simply just pull on it. Like that. Then I take this on the other side. The same way, add it to the thread. I do this with tinsel, with all sorts of stuff. This is a really, really neat trick. Tighten. Pull on the rubber legs here, so it makes it easier to. And as you can see, they're sticking out here. They will stick out into the current and make a lot of movement and a lot of bouncing around and stuff like that. You can see how easy they are moving now. Then I do a whip finish. And use some Sabagap for this one, or a varnish. I don't have either just here, but that's a good idea. And then the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take the shank here, and these are the spawn jig shanks, and these are the 60 degrees ones. I really, really like those. I'm gonna show you what they look like in the vise now. So basically you have a shank here that has an angle to it, and that makes it perfect for using a tungsten bead to make this have a really nice jigging effect. The thing we need to do now is basically just take a pair of pliers and just pull out the shank here a little. This is also an excellent shank for making all kinds of intruder flies, and I mean any intruder fly, at least in places where you're allowed to add weight to the flies. This is a really, really good way of adapting some of your proven intruder patterns, because this shank has a lot of weight. Basically, this is a slotted shank, and that's very important. And you put it through with the slotted section first. Otherwise, you can't do this wrong, because if you do it wrong, then it won't go on there. And basically now I have my shank, I have my bead, and now I need to add the hook. And it's very crucial for the fly to work as intended that the hook is pointing upwards, because if it's pointing downwards, you will have a harder time of actually having this hook not catching the bottom. So basically your setup is like this. The hook needs to point upwards. And you attach the shank to in the vise. Then I close the shank with tying thread, so it's important that you have a fairly strong, fairly durable tying thread. As I said, this is the Vivus 50 Dinya. I use that for quite a lot of different things, and it really it performs just outstanding. The Vivus products is by far my favorite types of thread. And then in order to cover up the gap here, I take a bundle of this dubbing mix I made from the Ribble Eyes and the spawn dubbing. And then basically I make a bundle here, and I try to get it all the way around the hook, so all the way around the shank. So the first 2 turns I'm gonna make are gonna be fairly loose, and then I'm gonna apply some pressure. You could use a hackle, you could make a hackle, or even use marabou again here, or something like that. But I find that this dubbing is the fastest and the easiest way. And then I take the dubbing that was pointing forward, I fold it back then I get the double amount of dubbing easily. So there you go. And as you can see now, the joint, the section of the fly that was linked together is now covered. So it's not as much for the fish as it is for Instagram and the profile picture of this YouTube video and stuff like that. But it just makes your fly looks better. Basically, that's it. Then I'm going to take another black hackle, and I'm going to take a fairly larger one because, as I said, I want this to taper. This is probably about double length of the first one. And this will give your fly a more rugged, a more authentic look, I think. And again, I tied this down in the tip so that it gradually becomes longer the more turns I make of this. And I tied it in so the side that faces upwards on the cape, the side that points upward from the cape, is pointing towards me. So when I turn this hackle, all the natural curve of the fibers will lean backwards, like so. Then I'm gonna make a dubbing loop. There we go. And then I'm going to move the thread all the way up here. And I'm going to hang my dubbing loop off to the side to prepare the dubbing for the dubbing loop. And basically, as I said, I want this to taper. So when I have the dubbing here, I would like ideally to have more and thicker dubbing the further down you go. So this is going to be at the front of the dubbing loop, but as you can see, there's fairly less material here than there is here in the bottom, and this will also help to taper the entire fly here, like this. I'm going to take my dubbing reel. If you're having trouble with your dubbing reel and it's not balanced properly and stuff like that, this CF Design one is just perfect. It's completely smooth. It works like a charm, and it's probably, well, I have to say, the second best dubbing reel in the world, because the other one CF Design does, that is with the ball bearing, that is the best one. But for quick use and stuff like that, then this is just awesome. I don't know if you can see, but see, just completely perfect. Completely perfect. Then I spin my dubbing loop, and then basically I just turn this. And one of the other reasons why it's important you don't have too much dubbing here is because of the joint, the section of the shank that is linked up. Then when you go to the shank where there is only one wire, you will have to have more dubbing to compensate for the uneven thickness between these two sections of the fly here. Basically, I'm going to turn this all the way up to the shank. There we go. I'm going to secure the dubbing loop. Cut it away. Take my hackle and turn this. You could apply some rib to this if that's turned the other way around, or that's turned from the front, if you want this to be even more durable. But the dubbing here will protect the hackle somewhat. And then basically oh shit. That's not how that was supposed to go. Oh, let me think fast here. Let me think fast. Is there any way I can save this in any way? Okay, I'm gonna try to save this. So my hackle broke, and I do not wanna trash this fly or start over. So basically, I just take my hackle plier. And force the hackle down. There we go. But I don't think that there is enough hackle now. So I'm gonna take another hackle. And then I'm just gonna fix things like this with this other hackle. So basically I tie down another hackle of the same length. And then I'm gonna make 2 or 3 turns with that one in order to save my fly here. To give it a bit more bulk here in the front. There we go. So that was a quick fix and saved on the, on the goal line or whatever you want to call it. There we go. And then I'm gonna take the 2 more rubber legs to give this even more volume, more movement. Attach one there. And then take the other one and attach that on the other side. There we go. Cut off the stumps. You can add more rubber legs if you like and stuff like that. And if you feel like you have a bit of a head issue up here, I don't think it's a problem on this fly, but on one of the others, I had experienced that there was a small gap that looked strange up here. You can simply take a little more dubbing and just make a small amount of dubbing up here to kind of cover up where you where you tied down the rubber legs. Fasten that. And because of the dubbing and the tungsten bead and stuff like that, this is going to be hard to varnish. But if you can get some, I should have used some Sabagab on the thread and with the whip finish. But here you have it. This is a truly awesome pattern. And as I said, because of the way this is built, it has an insane amount of movement. It will bounce really awesome in the water, and it will stand on the bottom. So basically, if you don't have too much weeds, you have maybe some rock bottom or something like that, then this fly will stand on the bottom like this, and your hook will be free from touching the bottom, and you can just jig it. It looks freaking awesome in the water. This fly is perfect for perch. It's perfect for trout as a trout streamer. It's perfect for sea trout and basically any fish that feeds on food subjects like this. You could probably even do this for saltwater fishing, for bonefish and stuff like that. I think this way of tying a bonefish fly would be pretty awesome, and it's all due to the slotted tungsten bead here and the angled shank that makes this fly just look freaking awesome. And because jig flies work so well, but up until now there's been a limit to how big you could make them because the jig hook the jig hooks only came in a certain variety of different sizes, but now you can make really big streamers, really big articulated flies like this. So this is an awesome way to go. to make jigging flies that fishes and balances perfectly, and for steelhead and salmon as well, this is going to be a killer. So basically there you have it. This is a jigged version of a woolly bugger with rubber legs. I'm going to start fishing upstream for salmon and sea trout in Denmark. I've just joined another club with some really awesome water, so hopefully I'm gonna have a video about how to fish this fly exactly, and how well it works later on the YouTube channel. As always, you can find all the materials for this fly in my webshop. It's called Nordic Anglers. If you haven't done so already, it would mean a lot to me if you would subscribe to the channel. Maybe the finishing touch for this would be to pull out some of the dubbing here. And when you do this, take care not to pull the the hackle once again. But as I said, this fly, or this type of flies, you can vary the colors in any way you like and stuff like that. But this type of fly, or this pattern in particular, the black, I chose the black because, well, basically black is probably the best color of all times for flies like this. But you can vary that as much as you like, and you can incorporate this technique with the angled shank here for, as I said, intruder flies in general. And basically there we have it. The jig-shanked, tungsten beaded woolly bugger with the rubber legs. Thank you so much for watching, and take care and good luck out on the water.